Today is the day. It is a closing day, and we are talking about the successful sale of this home, 1117 Eden Bridgeway. I'm Haley Jones. I'm a Look Cool at Knoxville and East Tennessee real estate agent, and I'm going to give you all the tea on how this beauty is successfully closing today, what we did to market it, how we priced it, all the things. So let's dive in and get going. All right. Okay, let's get into all the details. Okay. So, these sellers I initially met with in September, I believe. They are relocating or did relocate across the country. And they wanted all of this to align, this sale to align with that timeline. So we knew that we kind of had a certain list date. They wanted to be listed around November because that's when they were leaving. But they also wanted it to be ready. So the first thing I did is, of course, pull the comps from the internet, which is, I always do that before I go to meet with a seller. So I'm coming in informed. I'm seeing what Zillow says. What are all the automated values? So we kind of know what the internet says, right? Why do we care? Well, because people are going to see, and that is a data piece. Like, it's not always precise, exact. Obviously, the internet doesn't know, like, what update you did, or if it smells, or if there's train tracks, or whatever. Like, the internet doesn't know that. But people have access to the internet, right? And so they can go and see, like, his internet says it's one price, and you're way below or way above. It's a red flag either way. So I pulled the comps. I pulled all the internet values. When I say comps, this home specifically is in a neighborhood, which helps us because when you're in a neighborhood, that kind of grounds your comps, unless you have a very obscure property within a neighborhood. But if you're pretty much like traditional, what else is in the neighborhood, then that's going to be a huge help for us. Now, some of the recent solds for this home were 4 bedrooms, and this is a 3-bedroom. That's something we wanted to keep in mind. Another recent sold with similar square footage had a basement. Something else we wanted to keep in mind. One of the actives, completely updated kitchens and bathrooms. This home, the kitchen is original. Now the bathrooms I'll take you to, are updated. So there was just some things there that, like, again, the automated values I pulled, the internet doesn't show me those things. So when I come and I see what's here, then that gives us better pricing strategy. So on that initial meet, I see the house, and then they were concerned about a couple repairs. Like, did they need to exchange light fixtures? There was like an issue with the tile in the shower. So I gave them a handyman. They called the handyman. There was an issue. I think, what else was there? There were just some other little things that they needed the handyman to do. And then we also talked about the furniture because in this case, they're relocating across the country. They did not want to take all their stuff. So we started to think what that looked like. So at first the thought was, I gave them a contact for somebody that, like, that's what their business is. They take the furniture out or whatever, and that just didn't work out. So then I came back right before they were going to kind of like decide what they wanted to put in storage and what they wanted to give away. And we went through the house and decided like what they would leave and how I would stage those things. Because it had some nice stuff. It could be easily staged to look nice. So we kind of talked about that strategy. And then from there, we got our timeline. They got their storage situation figured out. They figured out when they were officially moving. We did all that. At that same time, I scheduled photo and video to align when they were going to be out. All those things. So we still kind of had this November 1-ish start date that we wanted to hit. So from that point, the ball is rolling, right? We get photos created, we get, professional photography, all the things done. This is actually what people get when they come for a showing. Just a nice little piece, a little brochure piece. So anyhow, now, when it came to when did we actually price this property? We priced this property right before we put it on the market because we want to see what exactly is active because that's our current competition. But what just sold in the past 90 days? Now, if that's not enough data, then we pull 120 days. In this case, I believe 90 was enough. And then we just consider that everything else active, same square footage, has an additional bedroom. So pricing, we priced right before we wanted to be competitive because the stuff that was on market in the neighborhood had been sitting quite a while, which indicates either the price too high, there's something like very grossly wrong, etc. So we did not want to be grouped in those, but we also wanted to honor the fact that yes, this is a great house. There is a brand new, look at this, brand new back deck that they put on, like Trex decking. I mean, so nice. The other properties listed for sale did not have that, but we still had the dated kitchen. And then the other properties also had an additional bedroom. So anyhow, pricing, that was number one. So we wanted to know pricing, which we did, which was indicated by our number of showings very quickly once we listed it. Now, the other thing is listing prep. So in this case, as I mentioned, they were moving. And so they actually left. We went through the house and they talked about what they wanted to leave. When I came here for photos, I came the day before just to see what was left. They were gone. And I just decided that actually between what was left, like what was left just wasn't going to make sense from a showing standpoint. So I actually pulled almost all of it out. I left a couple things, like for example, I left the stools just to highlight the seating. I left the table here because this is a huge kitchen and that just shows like, hey, there's a ton of space. So we left that there, and I thought about putting the table in this dining space. My seller had actually used this as an office. But again, I think the table being in the kitchen just showed like, hey, this space is huge. So then up here, they had redone, like you can see this is all updated flooring, updated paint. One of the things I did have them do was paint because this was a really like specific color. So they came in and we just made it more neutral. And then we did move around some furniture. So this bed was actually in one of the other rooms. So it was originally in here when they left. So there was nothing in the master bedroom. So I pulled the bed out of here. And then I have some like staging pillows and comforter. So we used their bed, which is this. And then that's actually their dog pillow. I thought it was cute, so I put it there. But the rest of that's my staging stuff. And then we put some nightstands here. And then something else that was a huge highlight was this bathroom. It's beautiful. Totally redone. Beautiful vanity. But also this huge tile walk-in shower in the master. So all of those things we used to highlight. And then we used a couple other furniture pieces. Like this room is nice and huge. So we kind of set it up as like an office. They had left the TV and like the shelving. So we made it look more of an office kind of vibe. So again, pleasant, but also just to highlight the spaces, highlight the things were updated. They did some updates on this bathroom, like new vanity. So all of these things we wanted to highlight, especially in our marketing, in our photos and our videos. Because of course, as you know, all listings I get multiple videos, a walkthrough for YouTube where I'm presenting the house, an MLS video that's just a highlight, and then we do a bunch of like vertical videos. So anyways, that is the marketing and like hitting like everything we do before we hit the market. Once we hit the market, that is when showings start happening. Okay, before we talk about showings and the negotiation process and the whole things like that, I did want to show you. I did end up, all the furniture that was left, I ended up having it hauled off before showings, actually even before the photos were here. I didn't want them here for the pictures. Well, we put it in the garage and then I had it hauled off before we started showings. We didn't really need pictures of the garage. The garage is just a basic 2-story. So we didn't necessarily need that, but I also wanted to show you that I did just do like little minor things. I added a wreath. Let me show you. It is just basic, like little thing, like nice, but a wreath and a welcome home mat. So Just little things like that. Like I said, the furniture, I got out of here completely for photos and videos. And then before showings, I had it hauled off because I did not want it in the garage for showings. Because garages, even though it is a traditional size garage, garages have a way of people thinking like, they're teeny, they're tiny. And actually, the garage is fine. So we didn't want all that stuff in there for the showings. So that was prep. We hit the market. The first weekend we had 9 showings. That indicates several things. That indicates, first of all, we have a strong buyer pool, but second of all, pricing looks great because people are automatically scheduling to get in to see it quickly. So from those 9 showings, we had 2 offers within the first weekend. Both of them are great offers. There were some differences on like the final proceed. Somebody was wanting closing costs, somebody wasn't, etc. And actually we ended up getting one under contract and then taking the second offer as a backup. So if something were to happen with the first contract, then like if it fell through, we would automatically have already pre-negotiated a second contract, and that buyer would automatically by default be under contract with us. So all parties agreed. This is good for the buyer because some deals do fall through, and this way, they're automatically under contract on a house they really like. And the buyers, this also on the sell side, this helps the sellers avoid hitting the market again. They already have a price they've agreed to, terms they've agreed to, closing date they've agreed to. So there are some major positives to having a backup offer, whether you're a seller or a buyer. So if you're a buyer currently right now in this market, that's something to think about. And on the sell side, when we have the opportunity to lock in an offer and a contract that you like, that's maybe not as good as your primary one, but it's something that you'd be more than happy to take, then you want to consider that as a backup. And in this case, we actually countered that person's offer with the backup. So on our end, I said, hey, we can consider if this guy wants to be a backup. So we countered his offer to be a backup. So the terms were good. There were just some things that, were less ideal than the primary contract. And actually, in this case, those came in at similar times. So we let both of them know, like, hey, there is an offer on the table. So that way the parties knew, like, hey, I need to bring my best offer because I am in competition with somebody else. This was not a bidding war in the sense of how you think, but we did have more than one offer on the table. And so we want people, on both ends. It's good for buyers to know, like, hey, if I'm serious, like, I'm going to put my best foot forward and just see what happens. And that's, in any case, on either end, sell and buy, we just put our best feet forward and then we negotiate from there. So we ended up getting under contract quickly. And then actually the buyers, we had a, quick turnaround in terms of home inspection. They agreed that they were going to take the house as is. So that also made the home quite appealing, or that offer quite appealing, I will say, because that means like they're not going to be negotiating money off the purchase price, etc. So that was a major plus. So we got through the inspection period. Everything went well. We got through the appraisal. Everything went well. And now today we are closing. So this one was, there's quite a few positives about, this process. And overall, it's like my sellers are happy. The buyers are happy. We're actually closing a couple days early because the buyers were like, let's get in. And the sellers were already gone. The loan's clear to close. So we have moved up closing a couple days. So that is just one example of how a process of selling your home could go. Just like I mentioned for this property, every property I sell gets professional photo, professional video. We take our marketing seriously. We know that the first time somebody sees the home is online. That really is your first showing. So that's something that I think is super important. I know it's very important. We want our marketing to look good. We also knew that there's other houses in this neighborhood that are for sale. So we need to really make this one pop. We need to really highlight in those first 5 to 10 photos the great things about this house, the new master bathroom, the back porch. And those are also things that I talk about with the photographer. These need to look good. Like, obviously we want the photos to look good, and that's his goal. But we know that there's certain shots that like this has to be great, right? Like that shower, that bathroom. I mean, that is a huge selling point because nobody else listed in our competition in the neighborhood has that kind of appeal when it comes to their primary bathroom. And people love a good primary bathroom, right? So anyways, that is all about the sale of 1117 Eden Bridgeway. This house in a sense is kind of an indicator of what's going on with the market currently in the Knoxville area, because this home is located in a very, very desirable area, where a lot of homes are much more highly priced. So it had that already going to it, which meant there's already a competitive buyer's market, which is not the case for the entirety of Knox County and East Tennessee. So just want to point out to you that, not everything is moving so quickly. But we also know that pricing really mattered. Like that was a huge point of what made this sale successful, is being super aggressively priced. So anyhow, that being said, I am Haley Jones. I hope this has been informative for you. And that is all about the sale. I think this is backwards and I keep showing it, but this home is 1117 Eden Bridgeway. Congrats to my sellers and congrats to the buyers. Another one successfully sold. As always, I'm Haley Jones. I would love to help you buy or sell real estate in the Knoxville and East Tennessee area. That is why I make those videos. In full disclosure, because I want you to call me, because I would love to work with you, and I'm not going to cold call anyone. I don't believe in it. So yeah, you can give me a shout. You can subscribe. There's always so much more to see, and I'll see you on the next video.